Let's join Heather and supervising BCBA Veroncia Montford as they talk about this week's high leverage practice.
Welcome to Little Bits of TLC, the podcast where we explore the dynamic world of education. Join our host, Heather Volchko, as this season we focus on high leverage practices, HLPs. Each episode will examine a different HLP, essential strategies designed to enhance teaching and improve outcomes across various educational settings. These practices focus on collaboration, assessment, social, emotional, behavioral support, and instruction, benefiting all K-12 students. I hope you're ready to be both challenged and inspired, because this season is all about mastering the HLPs. This is Little Bits of TLC. Looking for something that actually fits your life? TLC University is here for that. Each week, we spotlight something different. A webinar with real-world insights, a hangout-style interview, and a hands-on workshop or a Q&A where we answer your questions. It's flexible, it's self-paced, and most come with CEUs. So whether you're looking to grow, reflect, or just listen in, there's something here for you. And it's all in one place. university.thresholdlearning.org. That's where you'll find show notes, professional blogs, a full catalog of ACE accredited courses, and downloadable resources. It all just keeps growing. So whether you're walking the dog, commuting, or taking a breather between the daily grind, TLC University meets you where you are. Head to university.thresholdlearning.org and check out what's new this week. See you then.
Establish a consistent, organized, and respectful learning environment. To build and foster positive relationships, teachers should establish age-appropriate and culturally responsive expectations, routines, and procedures within their classrooms that are positively stated and explicitly taught and practiced across the school year. When students demonstrate mastery and follow established rules and routines, teachers should provide age-appropriate specific performance feedback in meaningful and caring ways. By establishing, following, and reinforcing expectations of all students within the classroom, teachers will reduce the potential for challenging behavior and increase student engagement. When establishing learning environments, teachers should build mutually respectful relationships with students and engage them in setting the classroom climate, like rules and routines. Be respectful and value ethnic, cultural, contextual, and linguistic diversity to foster student engagement across learning environments.
This week, we're talking about high leverage practice number 7, establishing a consistent, organized, and responsive learning environment. And Veroncia, I know you have walked so many educators through setting up their classrooms and making it an environment that can truly check all three of these boxes. So for you, what does this practice look like?
This practice, fostering a consistent environment, I believe consists of three things. Not three things that have to be in sequential order, but they kind of work in tandem. And the first thing is relationship. You have to have a relationship with your learner, client. There has to be rapport. There has to be trust that's built. I think this is just so important when you are establishing that environment. And not just for the adults or the students, but the adults as well. There has to be that trust that needs to be built. You, as the adult, need to have that calm demeanor, should I say. Even though there may be those jitters that are flying within you, deliver that calm demeanor that impacts the student or the learner as well. So that's one thing that needs to be established. The other thing is just the structure of your environment, the predictability, should I say, establishing those expectations, the routines, the procedures, all those things need to be in place. I believe that they need to know what's next. And the third thing is reinforcement. It's all about the motivation, right? Why should they do what you want them to do? Those three things are, I believe, are the most important. And from there, you can have in the curriculum or instructional practices going on. But if you don't have those three things as foundation, it will be hard to move further.
Gosh, I agree with you wholeheartedly on all of this. But gosh, that doesn't happen overnight, right? Like it sounds so easy of like, just do all of these things and then you'll be able to do everything. Like, oh man, it is so not that way. So how do you walk with your teachers to be able to start building those things knowing that, it's not going to pop up overnight. It is going to take some even consistent focus from the adults to be able to lean in and start trying new things or to even choose to be consistent when we don't always want to feel that we want to be consistent in some moments, right? How do you walk your teachers through really building this consistently over time.
You're absolutely right. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. And to start a new classroom off, what I would tell a new teacher is the first thing you do is you're just going to build relationship. Have fun with them. Join their learning. Now you do want to have something set up, but you want to have something fun and you can explore, you can Google things that kids do that, that are appropriate. So that's the first thing is just have fun with the student, building trust. When they know that you are consistent or that you are responsive to them, that is what builds the trust. Again, you have to have some skeleton, some outline. You're going to have some expectations, across the day. So that needs to be established. There has to be procedures and there has to be follow through. But again, that's a part of learning that individual as well.
So when you're talking about having some structure and some, routines built in, but you're also having fun and engaging with them, being responsive to how they're showing up. How do you juggle both of those at the same time?
It can be difficult, not going to lie. It can be difficult, especially when you have different personalities, but you have to be flexible too. You have to be flexible. You have to try to reel them in with the motivating things, right? And that kind of leads into the motivation and the reinforcement part. Having preference assessments come in handy. For those nonverbal kids or those non-vocal kids, you can send those things home. However, just having that back and forth communication, what do you like to do? Come on, let's show me. Again, that's joining their world. Show me what you like. We're in a world of technology. You can always look things up and you can informally assess things through just conversations, that back and forth conversations. But you're absolutely right. It can be difficult to juggle those things and knowing how to group adults and students together. But that is what you do the first couple weeks or the first month of school is you find out where the groupings are. You find out what students have similarities. You find out what adults kind of pair with those kiddos. But that is about, again, building the relationships with the students and the adults.
Yeah, I always tell people it looks a little like organized chaos. Like, if you don't know what you're looking at, it might feel a little chaotic. But if you look at it, there's some of those consistency pieces. There's some of those structures, some of those routines are sort of tucked in there. But yeah, I don't know that I've ever worked in a special ed classroom, especially self contained or those more intensive settings where it isn't just a little bit of organized chaos. Like the chaos is being not responsive and it's, maybe not always what we planned it to be, but it is organized because there are those consistent pieces, there are those routines, and even just understanding how different schedules are working out or meeting certain needs in certain ways. Like there is that, foundational piece in there as well.
And you can't be afraid to make mistakes. There are times where, I'll say, oh, well, that didn't work. Let me try it again. And when the students and the adults hear you say that, and I say it out loud, then they're like, "Oh, okay, she makes mistakes too." Yes. You're just modeling that language for them too. "Oh, I made a mistake. I'm gonna try it again." Yes.
I love that because then when you're modeling those things, that is consistency. So often I'll work with adults who think consistency means like robotic perfection. And no, it just means that you're just real, right? You consistently show up with whatever that is for you, and you're going to own, like, oh, that didn't go so great. Okay, let's try that again. That in and of itself is a consistency piece that, just like you were talking about, leads to that trust building. And especially with our students who struggle in their learning or all kinds of different, different modalities that they may show up with deficits in, it really shows them, hey, we can make mistakes. We can show up a different way. We can try again. And that consistency of just being there and creating that opportunity is just a beautiful thing.
One of the things that I have been trying to push for teachers in years past and this year is about schedules. It's so important to have schedules. We as adults, we rely on what our technology, our phone. I don't know where I'm going in the morning unless I look at this phone, right? Which has my schedule on it. And that is, I think, one of the most important things to have within our low incident classrooms is schedule. It may not be an individual schedule, it may just be a whole group schedule, but something so that there is predictability, there is expectations. They'll know where I'm going next, what I'm doing next. It reduces the frustration for the student, not just for the student, but the adults too. They need to know what they're doing, how they're going. We live by schedules. Oftentimes, I tell teachers, I need you to look beyond this kindergartner and look at the 46-year-old adult. Or let's not look at this fifth grader right now. I need you to think of the 21-year-old who needs to navigate going to a job, and that schedule is that key component. Again, just building in that structure for that learning.
Yeah, you're making me think of an example that just happened today. One of our folks was on site and there was a schedule change coming up. I think it's tomorrow, and the student was concerned. Does that mean I'm going to miss something else? Is this instead of that? Or is this, as well as that? What's going on? And the staff was kind of dismissive of like, it'll be fine. And the person who was supporting that room from our team was like, well, let's break it down. When does this happen? When is that happening? Does that fit? Does that not? Okay, cool. You got your answer. Right. But it is like, knowing in that schedule, there was some consistency for that student. Like they knew on what days what happened. We're well into the school year at this point, but how did that adjustment actually fit into that day? There was that processing that needed to happen. And then even that change, right? Something that would seem like it's inconsistent. Oh no, it's an anomaly. It fit right in when there was an explanation and understanding of how that really worked.
Yes. You have to teach the surprises. There's some students who they have a schedule. If you put something different in that schedule, there's a meltdown, you know. So you have to teach there's something different today. And they may have a meltdown. Then there's another teaching moment. How can I handle this meltdown? What can I do? What strategies do I need to put in place so that I can come back to the table and look at why my schedule is changing? You know, those are all what we call life skills. And those are just important as learning to read or learning to add. Those skills are going to take you further. So, yes, that schedule building is so important. That's the one thing I look for when I go into the classroom. Can I walk in the classroom and see what's going on? As an outsider, do I know what's going on when I walk in your classroom? And if I can tell you what's going on and I can say, oh, this is student A and this is student B, then you're good to go.
Yeah. And I think what you're talking about is that balance between being organized and being responsive. Right? So, as an outsider, can I walk in? Do I know understand what's going on? Because if I don't understand what's going on with, kind of orienting myself, chances are you haven't necessarily caught all of your students into your schedule or your organization system either. But we talk about being responsive typically in like academics or, are we catching where they're at on their progress monitoring? And then are we fitting that instruction to where they're at? And are we being responsive on that in a day to day or activity to activity, month to month basis? But meltdowns are things that we are responding to constantly. So I love that you're bringing that into it as well, because yes, we can consistently show up to be responsive to the reactions that we are getting from our students. And that is such a teachable opportunity if we can engage in it in that kind of a way.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I love how you said to respond to things rather than reacting to things. And that just goes back to modeling that behavior. You can have all the nervousness inside, but that delivery is so important as well because they pick up on those things. Kids pick up on those things. Absolutely.
For sure. So before we log off this week, I would love for you to give a couple tips to people who are hearing this conversation and thinking, gosh, this sounds great. Where do I even start? Do I start with a schedule? Do I start with getting to know my students? Do I start with having fun? Do I start with processes and routines? Like, where do I actually start? So, if you were going to sit down with them and be like, it's okay, you'll get there, start with this and keep going, where would you start them?
I would say you have to start with a schedule. You have to have some sort of outline, some skeleton schedule. But within that schedule, there are going to be motivating things. There are going to be reinforcing activities, reinforcing tasks. And within those activities and tasks, you're going to build rapport. That's where the relationship comes from. Allow it to be led by them. You may set a timer and say, hey, what activity would you like to do? We have from this time to this time. It's basically them having that control within your control. So if you set that schedule, but you're providing all the motivating things, you're going to find out what they like by having that conversation, responding to them. And that's when you are building that relationship within. Again, they kind of work all hand in hand. One is not greater than the other. They work together, and that will support your organized environment.
I couldn't have said it better. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. Like I said, I know you've walked with lots of people through launching classroom starting programs, refining that development over time with new teachers and seasoned teachers. So thank you so much. There are so many moving pieces for this high leverage practice, but I love how you're just like start with that scheduled and build in the opportunities to be responsive and you'll get there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Working with students who need long-term individualized support? Project Bace is a 4-strand project designed for educators in self-contained classrooms serving students with low-incident needs. You'll get step-by-step guidance on building a program that focuses on communication, daily routines, and real-world skill building. From setting up the classroom environment to designing personalized plans, this course helps you create a space where your students can grow and succeed in school and into adulthood. Led by Chris Zielinski and Carly Dietz, Project Bace offers practical strategies, case studies, and planning tools to help you confidently support your students every step of the way. If you're ready to strengthen your program and build something that lasts, this project is your next step. If you're supporting emotional or behavioral needs in general ed or resource classrooms, Project Thrive helps you keep learning on track. And if you're in a therapeutic or alternative setting, building something from the ground up, Project Onward offers the structure and tools to do it well. Head to university.thresholdlearning.org to meet your team and begin building your home base today.
To build and foster positive relationships, teachers should establish age appropriate and culturally responsive expectations, routines, and procedures within their classrooms that are positively stated and explicitly taught and practiced across the school year. When students demonstrate mastery and follow established rules and routines, teachers should provide age appropriate, specific performance feedback in meaningful and caring ways. By establishing, following, and reinforcing expectations for all students within the classroom, teachers will reduce the potential for challenging behavior and increase student engagement. When establishing learning environments, teachers should build mutually respectful relationships with students and engage them in setting the classroom climate, such as through rules and routines, be respectful, and value ethnic, cultural, contextual, and linguistic diversity to foster student engagement across learning environments. Effective special education teachers are masters at creating learning environments that are consistent, organized, and deeply respectful, all of which are crucial for supporting student success. Their approach is rooted in practices that prioritize the social and emotional well being of their students. A key part of their strategy is focusing on increasing appropriate behavior through an instructional approach that explicitly teaches social skills. This method allows students to practice these skills throughout the day, with teachers providing positive, specific feedback to reinforce appropriate behaviors. These teachers also proactively address potential challenges by implementing evidence based practice to prevent social, emotional, and behavioral issues before they escalate, offering early intervention as soon as any risks appear. As student challenges become more complex, these educators respond with a team based problem solving strategy that intensifies support in line with the needs identified through behavioral assessments. Even when addressing significant behavioral issues, these supports are delivered in a manner that is caring, respectful, and culturally relevant. What stands out in their approach is the recognition that both academic and behavioral strategies are far more effective when they are built on a foundation of positive and caring teacher student relationships. Teachers understand that while they can't force students to learn or behave, they can certainly create an environment that makes it much more likely for both to happen. Central to any effective classroom is a set of clear, consistent rules, routines, and procedures that keep students engaged and focused throughout the day. These procedures are implemented in a proactive and positive way, with the teacher serving as a model of respect and care in all interactions. Rules are communicated in positive terms, focusing on what students should do rather than what they shouldn't, and are kept simple, usually 5 or fewer. Behavioral expectations are taught through clear examples and non examples and are practiced regularly until students achieve mastery. Routines are meticulously planned from how students enter and exit the classroom to how they respond to the teacher's attention signal and seek assistance. Each procedure is broken down into critical steps, which are explicitly taught and practiced with the students. The literature suggests a recommended ratio where for every corrective statement, teachers should make at least 4 acknowledgments of appropriate behavior, emphasizing mastery rather than focusing on mistakes. Teachers also ensure that students have ample opportunities to respond to both social and academic prompts throughout the day. These prompts are tailored to the expectations at hand, whether it's a social norm like voice levels during transitions or an academic task. The frequency of these opportunities to respond varies depending on the age and severity of the student's disability, but is a primary instructional strategy for building both fluency and proficiency. In every lesson, the goal is to achieve a balance of direct instruction, ample practice opportunities, and high rates of feedback, all of which are designed to ensure that students are successful, typically aiming for at least 80% proficiency. This approach maximizes engagement and minimizes off task behavior. As students progress, their learning is carefully monitored, and teachers adjust their instruction, practice, and feedback to meet the evolving needs of their students. When teachers and school staff create a consistent, organized, and respectful learning environment, they set the stage for students to thrive, both academically and behaviorally. In a chaotic classroom, students can't learn, and teachers can't perform at their best when constantly managing off task behaviors. However, when teachers invest time in explicitly teaching classroom rules and expectations, approach behavioral issues as learning opportunities, and treat students with respect, they are well equipped to build positive relationships and support student success. This practice is closely connected with other high leverage practices, such as High Leverage Practice 16, which emphasizes the use of explicit instruction, and High Leverage Practice 8 and 22, which focuses on providing positive and constructive feedback to guide students' learning and behavior. Additionally, effective special educators collaborate with colleagues, as outlined in High Leverage Practice 1 and 2, and use a range of data sources, as described in High Leverage Practice 4 and 6, to evaluate the effectiveness of their classroom environment and make necessary adjustments to ensure student success. Teachers who effectively establish a consistent, organized, and respectful learning environment begin by ensuring that expectations, rules, and procedures are clear, observable, and positively stated. This isn't just about laying down the law. These guidelines are articulated in ways that students can easily understand and apply, no matter where they are in the school. It's also essential that these expectations and rules resonate with the diverse cultures, values, and beliefs of the students and families represented in the school. Effective teachers don't just impose rules, they thoughtfully incorporate the rich cultural backgrounds of their students, making the learning environment inclusive and respectful of everyone's identity. These teachers know that simply stating rules isn't enough. They establish and explicitly teach 3 to 5 core expectations, like being respectful, responsible, and safe. And it doesn't stop there. They bring students and other stakeholders into the process, making sure that these expectations are meaningful to everyone involved. To support these expectations, specific behaviors or classroom rules are clearly defined and taught. Teachers also create and teach consistent procedures for daily tasks, such as how to line up or how to seek help, giving students a structured way to navigate their day. Throughout the year, these expectations and rules aren't just set in stone and forgotten. Effective teachers regularly revisit and reteach them as needed, always using consistent language to reinforce what's been established. They help students understand why these rules matter, grounding their behavior in a rationale that makes sense. An essential part of this process is recognizing that all behavior is a form of communication. Effective teachers interpret student behavior through this lens, which allows them to respond in ways that address the underlying needs, rather than just the surface level actions. To encourage students to follow these expectations, teachers minimize unstructured time and ensure that the rules are visible throughout the school. They also thoughtfully arrange the physical space to maximize flow and accessibility, and they use strategies like pre-correction to anticipate and prevent issues before they arise. Frequent, consistent, and positive feedback is key, reinforcing the behaviors that align with classroom expectations and maintaining a positive, supportive environment for all students. School leaders play a crucial role in supporting teachers by ensuring they are proficient in key classroom management practices and applying them consistently across various settings. This involves providing feedback on how effectively these practices are implemented with different students, helping educators fine-tune their approach. Leaders should also foster a school environment where proactive and positive classroom management is the standard, creating a supportive and productive atmosphere. Additionally, it's important for leaders to collaborate with their staff to develop a cohesive set of response strategies for acknowledging appropriate behaviors and addressing challenges. By ensuring consistency in these strategies across all classrooms, leaders help reinforce expectations and maintain a positive learning environment for all students. Establishing a clear, consistent, and positive learning environment is more than just a best practice. It's the bedrock upon which all other high-leverage practices are built. Think of it as the stage on which the drama of teaching and learning unfolds. When this foundation is solid, students are more likely to succeed both academically and socially. It opens the door for educators to engage in effective instructional practices and nurtures a climate of care and respect between teachers and students. Research over the past 50 years continuously underscores the significant impact that robust classroom management and effective instruction have on students' academic achievements and social behaviors. Essentially, when the environment is right, everything else falls into place, making teaching and learning a more impactful and positive experience. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Join us next week when Heather sits down with special education teacher and aspiring BCBA, Cass O'Hara, from our district partner, the Academies of South Bend, to talk about our next high-leverage practice.
Hey, before you jump back into your busy life, consider dropping a like and follow @ThresholdLearningTLC on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And if you like our show, share the podcast with your colleagues. A personal recommendation is by far the best way to promote the podcast. Let them know that they can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else that they catch their podcast. Just be sure to leave a rating and review on your favorite platform. You can email us at info@thresholdlearning.org. We always enjoy connecting with fellow educators and champions for educational justice. You can find everything you're looking for at thresholdlearning.org. See you there. Attention educators pursuing behavior analysis certification and universities preparing them for success. Supervision with TLC offers 100% remote fieldwork supervision designed specifically for school-based professionals. Educators can earn their hours right in their schools without leaving their classroom, all while being supported by experienced BCBAs who understand the realities of education. With month-to-month scheduling, affordable rates, and both live video and asynchronous chat, our fieldwork supervision model is designed to fit into your life, not the other way around. We also invite universities to enhance their graduate programs in partnership with our team of practicing school-based BCBAs. Our fieldwork supervision model keeps students on track for certification by helping them connect their practice to all exam domains so that they can confidently pass the exam. Explore more at university.thresholdlearning.org/supervision or email supervision@thresholdlearning.org to connect. Supervision with TLC, where educators grow into behavior analysts.